So just for myself, I've worked on creator-owned books, which means I own the properties, like Cancertown and Slaughterman's Creed, which just come out this weekend. You can have a look later on at the table upstairs. I've also worked on the Torchwood comic book, which was cancelled last year. I'm working on Jennifer Wilde, which is one of them made books, which means I'm helping create it, but it's a paid gig. So I own the characters. So there is a sort of different sort of part of the industry. I was going to create this perfect looking book, and I was going to do pencils, I was going to ink it and colour it all myself. So I was going to do all the art in the inside. And after chapter 1, I just realised that was far too much work, and it was taking me like just days to do one page. Let me see what happened. Oh, that's the front cover, which is only my pencils. It has digital paints by Ryan Brown, who some of you might know from Belfast. So this is more of the interiors you'll see. It's a bit gritty in parts. So page 1 here is the very first page of the graphic novel. This is where I was doing all the pencils, art and colouring. So for those who aren't sort of familiar with the American sort of style of creating comics, you would have a script you work from. The writer would create, let's see, there's one here somewhere. Yep, the writer would create a script like you can see above. This is by Cancertown. And you can pick your scenes, especially with 3D graphics in games, where composition is important because you obviously have to walk through things that look really good, but as soon as you walk around the corner, the whole scene will change, and a building that's on the right-hand side will be on the left-hand side, and so on. With comics and with 2D art, you don't have that option. So it's your job as an artist to pick the best angle and pick the best shapes on the page that'll make the page look really good and not boring. So you see, this was the establishing shot of the scene. It's Mr. Green, who's the bad guy, or one of the many bad guys from the book. Mr. Green's greenhouse, which is an old converted abattoir. So I thought, as the establishing shot, I'll try and get the sense of the whole scene by working the trees and sort of the whole interior around the panels. So you get a sense that even though you're moving from panel to panel, you're always trapped in that scene, like the guy who's just come in. He's about to get tortured, or well, he's meant to get tortured, and you sort of feel like you're getting pushed in. So I think it's something it's a negative in one way for 2D art, that you only have that one chance. If you see a panel laid out, you might think, oh, it'll look amazing from the top. Oh, it'll look really cool. They'll have that really dynamic angle from the bottom, and you only have that one chance to draw it once. But you also have that opportunity to play with it more and keep that static image that you wouldn't have in, say, film, where you're going from one frame to the next. Also, in terms of composition, you can work on things more to make a sense of atmosphere and a sense of, you see again, like these trees, the branches here are able to frame the characters, which, and then as they're all speaking, it's constantly there. Again, with other media, you might get the opportunity to stay in one place because you're always moving, so there'll always be something in your way. So I think, yeah, so composition is a really, really big thing in 2D graphics. You have to make sure that you always get something right. Okay, yeah, so you see these are not my inks and colours. These are when I moved on to chapter 3. There is a thematic jump in the story, sort of a time gap or something. Which made a good opportunity for me to stop doing everything on the page. So I returned to just doing pencils. So you see here, this is I get a script inside. I move on and do these pencils here. You can see in grey, which is then passed on to. You can't see it here, but it's drawn over in ink and tidied up by Andy Brown from Belfast. Basically, I mean that these pencils, as you work along, get blurred and smudged, and they just aren't as tight as it should be for print. Especially since print can be a bit dodgy at times, a bit temperamental, you would say. So you might get something that comes out really muddy or really dark, and these pencils just aren't sharp enough most of the time for print, unless you have a really good communication with your printer. Then you can sort of say, this is how I want it and stuff. But for sort of these graphic novels, you don't always have a chance to see it proof beforehand. So it's American comics have always tended to ink over the pencils. You can't see it here, say, as pure ink, but you can skip ahead to the colouring stage, which is passed along by email to Vicky Stonebridge over in Scotland, in the Highlands, and she added the colour, which she did a great job on. So that's just. I'm sure most of you are all familiar with the process of American comics. I know it's not quite as informal as the. I think the Japanese model uses more studio work, where you have people working on backgrounds, some people working on the characters, and lots of a much bigger studio. The American, and especially small press, is a lot tighter group most times. So there's only 5 of us working on a whole graphic novel, because it's then passed on to Nick, and Nick adds just goes through the whole book and adds on all the lettering. There's more to lettering than you would think, but I'm not going to go into it now because she can do it much better than me. Same sort of thing here, just different sort of stages of flashback. Again, it's something you do with 2D art. I think you see it more now in video games, where you can change the whole layout and the whole look of a scene, and instantly you sort of know that something different happened. You can just from that simple color choice, or the way that here it's I've left these only in pencil, and then went straight to color, which you can sort of which changes the whole thing. It's something that you couldn't do years ago in sort of in TV with before the sort of digital enhancements come in. But now you can, it's the same sort of thing you can do in most media. But color definitely has there's just so much you can do with color in terms of atmosphere and just changing the whole style of things. A very important thing to do is if you're changing scenes in art, especially because 2D art that I do is all storytelling. So if you have one scene and it's set in a derelict building, and you change to a second derelict building, it's going to be really hard, especially when you're trying to fit in close-ups and sort of establishing shots. It can be really hard to just make everyone sure they know it's a different building. So color is a really simple way. If you have one derelict building that's blue and you have one that's red, then you know straight away you're changing scenes back and forth and cut. So color is something to definitely look into when you're trying to use your storytelling. Yeah, I was going to talk about just the difference between creator-owned and sort of work-for-hire comics. So I say for 2 years previous, I was working on my own creator-owned material, which again, Slaughterman's Creed was the second one. It's a lot easier to create characters for yourself than if you're going through the whole process of editors. We see here, well, for Slaughterman's Creed, it wasn't. They're all sort of gangsters, but with the exception of Mr. Green down below. He has a sort of unique look to him, as well as Sydney on top. But the rest were all just humans, and it's harder to make humans look different, especially because it's all just line art and drawings. You can cheat a little bit. You can cheat with the colours and say one has blonde hair and one has brown hair, but even that, there's only like so many colours of hair you can go before they all start blending together. So creating characters, yeah. You can see Big Lenny Addison. He was based very loosely on, what's the name of the guy from Sopranos? What do you call him again? The actor that plays. Anyone know? Yes. James Gandolfini. So that's very loosely based on him for the first concept sketch. In the book, he changes more to a character rather than a copy of an actor. But this is me down below. Just a shot of myself, just making a funny face. If you're working through editors, you get for both videos or for both comics and games, you can get a lot of feedback, which after working for 2 years in creator-owned comics, can get a bit annoying and it destroys your ego when you get all this feedback from editors. But it's a big part of the industry. If you're going to get paid, then usually it's very rare that you'll get paid for just doing your own thing, unless you're Frank Miller and you're really famous and they say here's £1 million, go and create a comic and we'll print it. If not, then it can be very a lot of back and forth with editors. So this one, all I had to get was the writer who went, yeah, looks great. Even for probably especially for licensed characters. If you're when I was drawing Torchwood, I was looking a lot at season 1 for the sort of. I'd actually only seen season 1 of the series, so I was drawing Jack. I think Captain Jack has a sort of superheroic, square-jawed, look. And when I sent it off, it went through to his publicist or BBC, and it came back saying, "Could you make Jack look thinner?" And I was like, "Well, it's obviously John Barrowman wants to look his best." But I thought it looked worse that he looked. It says, "Can you make his face longer?" It's like, does he not have a square, heroic jaw? Apparently, in season 3, he's lost some weight. And it was being based around that, so there was some back and forth, especially on the cover, where everything has to be really exactly, that's like you're selling the book based on the cover. So I had to change Jack's face from that, and you sort of think, okay, I'll have 2 weeks and I'll draw these 11 pages, And by the time you finish, it's stretched to 3 weeks and 4 weeks because you're still changing Jack's face every day. But same with games. I don't have any for the game work. I don't have any stuff here because say I was only home last night, and I am under NDAs, so I can't really talk about the names of the games. But well, one of them is a sort of famous racing game. There's been lots and lots of versions of it. You might guess what it is, but I'm doing motion comics for them. So it's they say that the difference between working for comics and games is that, and then movies and so on, and creating art, is the comics is the one where your art will always appear on the final page. Even though if you're working on a team, you'll be getting an inker or a colorist, and they'll be collaborating. But you'll always have your art on the finished product or product. If you're doing concept art, or if you're doing 2D art for games and video, usually you'll very, very rarely see your art on screen because it'll be someone else's interpretation of that building or someone's interpretation of that character. I've managed to get the best of both worlds in working on stuff that I've been working on, and I think it's something that's come in recently. Stuff like the games I'm working on is both WiiWare and DSware, or DS games, 3DS. So, but because they're smaller formats, I think something like WiiWare can only go up to like so many megabytes or something. It's not even. I don't think it even fit a full gig for downloads. I forget how much it is, but it's something like each scene I was doing had to be less than 9 megabytes in size for the cutscenes. But again, if you're into 2D art, now is a really good time because these files have to be small and they're not you're not utilizing full 3D art. So I'm working on backgrounds for the 3DS that will be on the screen, and that's something really nice to see. It's not that sort of interpretation of a 3D model of your work. My artwork will be on the screen, and the characters walking past it. The same with the racing game where we're doing motion comics. It's another great thing where instead of doing full 3D cutscenes, what we're doing is some people hate them, some people love them. It's motion comics, and there's instead of drawing it on a flat page, I'm having to draw 3 layers in Photoshop. So that so the backgrounds move independently of the figure, and sometimes it can look a bit odd, but because it's cars, it isn't too bad. You have the car, your little drawing of a car, just skimming past the background. It can look a bit odd, but it can look sort of cool as well because it's something different. Again, it's just brilliant that you can see your actual artwork on screen rather than someone else just taking it and changing it. So any questions? So it was as simple as going to Comic Cons. There's a big Comic Con in Bristol and Birmingham every year. Also one up in Derry, Londonderry, every year, which I heard about the other cons. And you just go there and you meet editors. They usually have portfolio reviews. Sometimes it means you miss half the con because you're sitting in a queue with a portfolio waiting for a meeting. But at the end of the day, you get that job. I'd met Martin Eden, who was the editor of Torchwood, and at the end he was an editor, he was a editor of Titan. I didn't know what he worked on, and he's always changing his job. So within the Titan editing circle, and then about 6 months later, he sent me an email saying, "Do you have any free time?" And I was like, "It depends what you're talking about." And then so he says, "Do you want to draw the next Torchwood strip?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And he sent me the script, and that was after some back and forth with the heads. It was all passed through. So all my contact with BBC was all through Titan. So I sent it off by email to Titan. I sent it off to BBC a week later. Comes back to them, and then back to me. And I was going on holiday just like the next week. I don't always go on holiday. It's very rare. It's just like I had 2 in like 3 years. But and it was just it was a real rush at the end. I was like, if I don't get this done, they're going to get some guy to come in and draw Yando's head and just change it around and make it look really stupid. But yeah, so just through editors and through meeting him. I had no direct correspondence with the BBC. Even the emails he got back didn't get passed to me. They were filtered through him. So he was being nice. Instead, he was taking the sort of get the shitty face off and draw something else and passing it, saying they would like him a little thinner and stuff like that. Is anyone here that has an interest in getting into the industry, or is it more? Is it more comics or games? Comics as well. Yeah, so sort of American audience or just whatever? You don't care. Just want to draw comics. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.